A natural aquarium is not, by definition, a high-tech aquarium. A high-tech aquarium is not, by definition, a natural aquarium. A natural aquarium is the same thing as a natural garden. A garden contains soil, contains nutrients, and grows plants. A natural aquarium contains soil, contains nutrients, and grows plants. If you have a natural aquarium that is an inch of gravel and some plastic plants, you are fooling yourself into believing anything that you're doing is natural. It is not. A natural aquarium is exactly the same thing as a garden. A garden. Think of your natural aquarium as a garden. What do you do if you want to start a garden? Well, you start with a plot of land, a fish tank. You prepare the soil, the substrate in the tank. You plant seeds, or in the case of an aquarium, some cuttings, plants, or seeds. There are one or two more little things that we need to do in a natural aquarium in order to make it manageable. The most important of which is to restrict the amount of soil in a tank under 55 gallons to no more than 1 inch of soil. And to cap that soil with no less than 2 inches of sand. Now, this, for practical reasons, keeps the tank clear, keeps the water crystalline, and allows the substrate to do the work that it does by maintaining the quality of the environment. If you do not include dirt, but simply put several inches of sand in the tank, it will take 6 months or longer for the tank to develop the substrate, the nutrient-rich substrate necessary in order for plants to grow and in order for the waste that's produced by the fish and the plants and the microfauna to create an environment where all of that can be broken down, where it will break down naturally. Think garden. What's the very best thing you can put in a garden? Table scraps, particularly vegetable scraps. You can put humic material, that's leaves, other broken down vegetable matter, turn that over in the soil. Identical, the same with an aquarium, the more humic material you have, the richer the compost, the richer the substrate. Now, capping it with sand does several things that are really very critical. One is it keeps the dirt down in the dirt, keeps the dirt in the substrate, that is, and out of the water column. The most important single characteristic of a natural aquarium, if it is going to be a healthy aquarium and a balanced aquarium, is for the water to contain as little dissolved material as possible. In other words, you want the water to be clear. To do that, you don't need to do water changes. You need to have several inches of sand that allows all of that particulate matter to sift down into the sand, through the sand, into the deeper substrate where there is adequate humic material to be able to break down waste. Now, I recommend setting up this system with a supplement. I create supplement by adding a number of minerals and compounds that I add to humic materials such as peat moss and potting soil. I even use black cow, which is a material composted of barnyard waste. No more, however, than 1 inch. And the reason for this is that if you put more than an inch in its initial phase, that soil will be so chemically active that it will cause the system to literally explode. It will then take an extended period of time for it to calm down, settle down, balance out, and become a healthy environment. Oh, it will. But it will take upwards of 6 months. If you start with 1 inch of soil, cap it with 2 inches of sand. It doesn't really matter much what the sand is. I use all kinds of sand. I use beach sand. I use backyard sand. I use pool filter sand. I use play sand. I use concrete sand. Any kind of sand will do. What is critical when you put the water in the tank is to be sure not to disturb that sand layer. Put a plate, a plastic bag, something in there to keep the water from boiling into the sand and causing it to create a substantial amount of particulate matter. It could be as simple as dust, but that can take a very long time to settle out. So, putting the water in carefully prevents the substrate from being disturbed, and it allows it then to begin to do the work of bringing about a process called chelation, in which all of the chemical elements that are involved interact with each other in such a way as to has to settle down into a stable environment. Initially, that environment is not stable at all. That's the reason to have no more than 1 inch of soil and no less than 2 inches of sand. That allows this chelation process to go on without bubbling up through the sand into the water column. It'll work its way up about 1 inch. You'll be able to see that if you look at head on at the substrate level. After about 3 to 6 months, that chelation process is resolved, and the roots will then begin working their way down into that substrate. Prior to that, you want to put plants in the tank right away, but do not bury them so deeply that they are down in the dirt. The roots will burn up. In a new tank, it will not be successful. Plant the plants 1 inch into the sand. Let them find nutrition. They're very good at it. Roots are excellent at finding nutrition in the soil. Once you have that settled in, there's one more thing you can do to make this a genuinely natural balanced aquarium, and that is to add humic material, a specific kind of humic material, namely the leaves from trees that have fallen into ponds or creeks or other bodies of water and begun to deteriorate. They contain fungus, bacteria, microfauna, and macrofauna, as well as microalgae and the macroalgae. All of that adds to the dynamic of life in the system. Now, you want to put this in fairly reasonable amounts, a handful of leaves at a time, right on top of the soil, of the sand. You can cover it a bit if you like, but it's not necessary or even particularly helpful to do that. Lay that material in the tank and let it provide the nutrition that the microfauna, the bacteria, and the fungus need in order for them to be able to thrive. That then forms the foundation for a food web. The food web is the key element in being able to keep very small fish and very large microfauna, such as shrimp and snails, alive and thriving in the tank. You will also find that very small fish like scarlet batis, the Elosoma pygmy sunfish, many small tetras will work in that soil material, in that humic material, and find food, find sustenance. They will be enriched by this, they'll become engorged by it, and they will begin spawning. And as the baby fish hatch, they'll find food as well and will be thriving in that substrate material. So here's the foundation now for a genuinely natural aquarium. As to things like lighting, I max out light. I leave light on in the tank as long as possible. In the new tank, I'll leave the light on 24/7 for months until the tank finally really begins to take hold and thrive. As to filtration, Filtration is not key, but I like to use sponge filters. It helps to promote an active biological system. It's it's a way for the water to be able to flow at a very gentle rate. It's a way for nutrients to break down and provide an environment for the microfauna to be able to feed. In time, you can take that sponge filter out. I find early on it's really quite helpful. It'll also pick up whatever dust particulate matter is floating around in the water column and keep that water crystal clear. So there's a formula for a natural environment that is as low tech as it's possible to get and as natural as it's possible to be. If you have not tried this, I strongly recommend you do so. It will be, I guarantee, the very best aquarium you will have ever kept. And you will be delighted. Catch up with us on our Discord channel to learn more about this and to do problem solving. There are always little things that come up, little tweaks, things that happen that you may need some advice with. Join us there. You'll find the link below. Have a lovely day. Keep it dirted. Keep it simple. And keep it natural. Bye for now.